Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, karibu sana. This is the channel where we talk about everything positivity, do everything creativity as we exalt Christ. I'm excited yet again to be back here. So I started on a series and I dubbed the series Reflecting on My 30s, but I realized I'm actually reflecting on my 20s and navigating my 30s. So I'm renaming the series Reflecting on My 20s while navigating on my 30s. Last week I was speaking about love, singleness, marriage, and everything in between. So today I want to talk about another aspect of life, and that is career, calling, and purpose. So really reflecting on how I viewed career, how I viewed purpose, how I viewed uh, my calling. So let's get right into it. Of course, when you're 30, you've pretty much done more than 5 years of your life in career, or at least looking for a way to start off your career. I also want to say that while reflecting on all this, you're also seeking clarity. When we talk about career, what is a career? What is a calling? What is purpose? And I may not define, but I think at the end of this, we will hopefully get into a good place where we probably are able to differentiate the three, or at least relate the three. We do not necessarily have to differentiate them. We can choose that we want to look at the relationship between all that. And I have my laptop here with some notes, but also I have my notebook here where I've tried to write a few notes so that I might not lose track of what I want to say. The kind of people who is scatter-minded, for lack of a better word, or I tend to speak a lot of things which sometimes are not very related. So I just want to go to the beginning. I love beginnings, and to start off, I was some of those people who are really passionate about the future. I've always been those people who are sure that the future will be brighter. And I feel like sometimes maybe I live too much in the future than I live in the present, by believing that the future has a lot that is good, which is good, but I think I'm those people who should always check to ensure that I'm not the Lulu. Yeah, but I think also being optimistic like that makes me be able to navigate day to day life. Yeah. So growing up, I was excited about studying. I was excited about becoming someone in the future. I always knew that I'll go through school. I'm those people who believed education is the key to success. Like I figured myself as someone that has learned and has this big career. So very early in the years, I started. I feel like when I was so young, I didn't even know what was there. To a point, I didn't have a career. Like when, say, I was a child, the way you would like ask a 5-year old what they would want to become, maybe a 6-year old, I can't remember what I wanted to become. But after some years, I wanted to become a pilot. I don't know why, but I feel like I might have copied it from someone. Seems also like I tend to copy people a lot, like people I look up to. So I wanted to be a lawyer, and it's because one of my sisters that I really looked up to, because she used to do so well in school, wanted to be a lawyer, my sister Doreen. And also it's because we have a brother in between, so I'm closest to her going up. I don't know how I can explain that. We have so many siblings. So I mean, you sometimes it's easy to relate to whoever is closer to you in age. So like when I was in class 1, she was in class 8. You can imagine looking at her at class 8 and thinking, oh, one day I'll be in class 8, or I'll be that big and that cool, and everything in between. So I looked up to her to a point I even copied her handwriting. It was that bad. So when she said she wanted to be a lawyer, I thought that is a good career, so maybe I should as well. So maybe just to mention, she eventually became an accountant, of which I think I took all the subjects she took in high school. Crazy, yeah. But I think that is how much I looked up to her. I've also done a bit in the finance field, though not accounting. I've almost taken almost similar courses to her, which I didn't follow that path, so I didn't become a finance person. But I'm still passionate about finance, and I think that is also. I think everything is part and parcel of everything, and I hope I will be able to come to that point where I will make that conclusion. So ideally, I'd say I know about finance, I know about investment, I can prepare financial documents, some financial documents, because I ended up doing business studies in high school, and I appreciate finance as a field. In primary, I wanted to be a pilot, then later on, and I think partly a lawyer and then partly a pilot at some point. But I still want to fly an aeroplane up until now, and I would want to fly a plane once. I'm thrilled by it, the way people are thrilled by driving and all that, of which I also appreciate driving. And maybe things like safari rally. I think those are cool things. I think it's the speed, anyways. I'd still want to fly a plane for fun. I don't think I'll do it for career at this point, based on what I now do and like. So that being said, I reached high school, and this is the point where I choose courses. At that time, I knew I wanted to fight for the rights of people, and to me, with the limited knowledge that I had and career exposure, I thought that interpreted to being a lawyer. So remember, I had wanted to be a lawyer from the beginning. So by the time I was in high school and got to understand slightly a little more about careers, I thought, wow, I'd want to fight for the rights of people, and to me, that was interpreted as being a lawyer. So in high school, I knew I wanted to do law. I even aligned my courses eventually. Of course, slightly to copy my sister, but also in a way that I could do a low course, that's making sure that I do history and a second humanity. Mostly I think in Kenya it's history and theory. And then also really working on my languages, which were good and all that. So yeah, but then the thing is, if you're not coming from the context of Kenya, and also I think people in the current, those who are in campus at the moment, or those who are now selecting subjects might not understand this, but in the beginning or in the past, there were two selection. You'll be selected for government, which you called jab in my ear. Later on, it was called KUSP, something of the sort, and that was government sponsored. That is, if you got a certain points, you'll be sponsored by the government. But also, if you got those points, for certain career, for example, let me give an example with law, which I wanted to pursue. So if you got a straight A, I think just straight A's. They'll pick, maybe there are like 100 slots for law in maybe Nairobi University. They are taking 100 slots for law. Usually there'll be way less than that, say 50. For example, at the first 50 they'll give government sponsored. So then that would mean the cutoff points will be very high, or the requirements will be very high. Probably they'll just pick those who have straight A's. And then if you have anything below a straight A, you'll either have to pay, self-sponsor yourself to qualify for that, or you'll have to choose another subject. So that's what happened to me. I didn't get the straight A, or I didn't get the first requirement, so I had to either choose another course or self-sponsor myself. It's not like I couldn't have qualified if I self-sponsored myself. I would have. So it's just that at that particular time, I was being taken through school by my foster parents. My foster dad had passed on same year, just before my results, and I didn't find it prudent to ask my foster mom to pay or require her to pay for me to pay for me for self sponsorship for me to pursue law. Yet there were so many courses I would have qualified for. So that's how I missed out on law. And when I missed out on law, it's not like that was an easy decision. I cried for days. I was so sad because I'd lived knowing that, especially because I realized that I loved justice. I loved fighting for people's rights. I loved watching movies that had cases and just justice issues. And yeah, I just realized that I was inclined towards the side of justice. So I thought law would be a ideal course for me to pursue. So when I wasn't able to do it, and it's because I didn't qualify for the government sponsorship, I was not okay. I was hurt. I tried everything I knew. I talked to so many lecturers from my church to tell me different pathways if there were any, and they just advised me to try and revise. There is a doctor. Those who are from my church may know him. Dr. Kai, may his soul rest in peace. He passed on. Might have been late last year. I think it was late last year. And I remember talking to him, and he told me, if it's God's will, I think he told me something. He told me to pray about it, and then he told me if it's God's will, He'll create a way. I think he told, or that's the way I interpreted it, and went and prayed about it and told God, if it's your will. I By that time I was already born again. I knew about God. I knew about faith. I knew about God's will and all those things. So I went and prayed about it, and I told God, if it's your will for me to do this, just make a miracle. Because by that time it was a miracle. It's either I go and do the self-sponsorship, of which I wasn't ready to ask for that, and also like my foster mom had not fronted that as an alternative because she was going through a lot. I made those bold prayers: God, if it's your will, make even a miracle. But if you just want me to take what I'd been called for, I think by that time I'd already been called, let your will be done in my life. And I waited. I was not called for law. I think I didn't even change, or rather, yeah, I didn't even try changing to law even later on. But I tried changing to agribusiness, which backfired, thank God, because at the moment I have my own politics around agribusiness, so thank God. And also, I didn't like agriculture, to be sincere, by that time, and didn't see I think you see those things people are told about career, and this is the marketable career, this is the less marketable career. Stop telling kids about those things. I feel like it's an injustice, and I think we should look at people's talents, people's callings, what they're inclined towards, and see whether there is a career in that, or if they can make a career out of it. Yeah, so that time there were all those politics about, oh, this is what is marketable, especially Bicom was so Bicom was thought to be so marketable. I think I even revised towards that because I revised a few courses. There was desire to revise towards Bicom because of course of the fuss that was being made around it. So yeah, that's what happened. I did my years. So when I wasn't selected for the Bicom, actually the name, when I applied, they picked the people, and just before my name is where they drew the line. Yeah, I just didn't want what I was called for. I'm those people who, if I apply for something, I will most likely be called for that. I was called for the high school I applied for. I was called for the course I applied for. So maybe I didn't mention, I ended up doing a course called Community Resource Management, which is an equivalent of community development for those who know that, or at least can relate with that. But it's more on resources. Yeah, so if you know what I'm doing, you know I'm at the right place. So that is what I ended up doing. So how did I move from wanting to really change to what I had envisioned that I'll do, to now settling and accepting where I was, even when I thought my dream was shattered. I'm living out some things. This finished from 4. I had a mentor, more like a mentor. Helen, I'm talking about you. If you're watching this, I doubt you are, but if you ever watch my videos, I'm talking about you, and pick up on yourself. If you guys you're watching this and you know Helen, some people might know her because she also mentored a few of my friends. She took me through the Excant program, and she would motivate me. She was in campus. Imagine a campus person taking people through the Excant program, of which I think I also did. When I was in campus, I took a few people through the Excant program. I think she was a good mentor. So after we got the courses, we revised the first time. The first time you revise before you join, because most of the time we are very ambitious about what you want to do, and then you get your results, and now you're working with what you have. This is your grade. Now you look at the courses that you qualify. Most of the time you are advised to choose slightly below, because you look at the previous years, the points, or rather the qualifications they used, the cutoff points they used, and then you are usually told to try to choose the ones you qualify or you overqualified, just so that you don't miss out on so many. You can be ambitious with one or two, but I mean, try to choose the ones you are overqualified, slightly overqualified, yeah. So I did that with a friend, and she's the one who directed me towards this course, telling me that I don't know, her sister chose it or her sister knows about it. Sarah, I'm talking about you, Sarah Wanjiro. She was my first, like, she she showed me around about, revising courses, registering, buying stationaries, and everything that I needed to join campus. Thank you so much for being part of my journey in that manner. So we revised the courses, and I'm called for what I revised to the first course. So when I was doing my my expert program, which we also did with Sarah, our mentor told us, our mentors told me that she knew only one person who did the course, and she tried to find out about it. She tried to explain it, by I think she asked their friend and all that. And yeah, that is how I got slight understanding, which wasn't much, because I feel like every time she told me what it was all about, because it was so foreign, I didn't know so much about what now I do before I got at least into campus. So it was so foreign that she'll tell me and I forget. So I started doing a course I don't understand. So by that it meant, and also I think I loved math a bit. Let me just say a bit, because the math that is out here, I realized that no, I don't love math that much. So I felt like I wanted something that had a bit of math, or I wanted something that was technical, and I felt like my course wasn't technical enough, which is weird because it's not like I got A's. Story for another day. So I felt like I had should changed myself. Like this was such a low course. That was the general feeling. After, of course, I missed out on the revision. I just had it to settle. It was a bit late. It was getting late. My first year was just bad. I was living in the future. I was not present. So from the second year, I started taking part, and even from the first year, part of first year, I started going for cleanups, community service, a lot of trying to understand what this course, apart from what we learned in class, entailed in practice. And I think for me, that is what saved me. So I got a gist of what it was when I did the cleanups, when we visited the elderly, and saw a lot of work taking place, a lot of my career in practice, and at least that motivated me. At least that motivated me to continue learning. So from the second year, I got really engaged. I even got selected as one of the leaders for our club, the school club or the course club, and that also gave me so many opportunities. I did a lot of volunteer. I'm those people who were always every weekend. I always had a plan, and it was volunteer. Like even if I didn't do much volunteer, especially getting into my current job or specific job, I did so much volunteer when I was in campus and after. Not really after. Mostly when I was in campus for so long. After my first year, I took a professional course called Certified Credit Professional CCP, which is very related with CPA for those who know. And I was, I combined while doing my semester. It was crazy. I was so crazy. And I think for me, it put me on my toes. I think I just wanted something that would put me on my toes. It's not like my course wasn't putting me on my toes, but I had that mentality. So I needed something to put me on my toes. When I did that, I had now I think 13 units in total. I'm doing my course units, and I'm doing my other units. And I did part one and passed all of them, minus what did I fail? Economics is what I failed. So yeah, so that's what at least gave me a bit of excitement. So second year came, I went and volunteered, and then that was second year I volunteered with VSO. Thank you, VSO. I will always quote you for training me to be who I am today. I loved it. We volunteered. Initially, I had signed up to go to Nigeria, but I think because I was still a student and then the timelines changed a bit and other reasons that are known to me, they selected me to go and volunteer in Machakos. We were volunteering alongside UK volunteers, which was also exciting. Being able to understand different contexts and learning from each other. And also being in Machakos, it was my first time, I think, being there, or no, I had been there with my classmates. I'll talk about that later when I talk about friendship and all that. But living there, that was my first time. So I volunteered with them and also did action at home and so many nice things that, I might not be able to talk about today. And then eventually I finished my course. No, I didn't finish my course. Now, so our course, we were doing and social sciences and health sciences. The previous year they've done on health sciences, they have done public health. When it came to our year, we were asked to take nutrition courses. I did nutrition for 2 years. So for social sciences, it was sociology, gender, and now for development course, it was resource management, which was now our in-house. Those were not electives. So the electives were the social sciences, gender and sociology, of which I didn't do sociology, I did gender. And then on this other hand was nutrition. I did nutrition. So yeah, so when it came to graduation, because of, remember my first year, remember I did 13 units. The exams were during the same time. So there is an exam that I missed. For CASNEP, you get to pay. If you miss an exam, you'll pay for it. If you fail an exam, you'll pay for it. So for even the economics that I failed, I paid for it. I couldn't see myself paying, and I had also paid 50% because I had signed up late. That's a different story altogether. Um, so I didn't see myself paying any other money because I didn't even have it in the first place. I used to use my help, like kidogo kidogo help here and there is what I used to do. Actually, I paid for that course for myself, the extra course. So I decided to miss out on my KU paper, and it was a nutrition paper. It was bad. So I don't know whether it was a good idea missing it or not, but I had to miss a paper. I had either to miss the CASNEP paper, and exams are never postponed. With CASNEP, it's bad. It can't be postponed. With KU, they wouldn't excuse you, and you can't say you have other exams because they'll be like you're prioritizing them and you are neglecting us. So I chose to miss these ones because I could easily say that I just missed it for one reason or another, and then I could receipt it as long as I don't have so many receipts. Unfortunately, the next year they changed the course. They said we can't take that course, especially we who are taking it as an elective, and gave us a new course. So because I had done the CAT, I could not do now the main exam and have it put in the portal. They had to remove the CAT from my portal, have me register for a new unit, and do it. That is what delayed my graduation. I was to graduate in 2017. I graduated in 2018. And during that year, 2017, by December, I got an internship. Remember, I had done certified credit professional. I got a credit internship. A deacon from my church actually helped me to get it. Pick up on yourself, Deacon Moirore, aka Joseph Moirore, who has a school for credit professional. If you're looking for a school as a credit professional or you want to go into the credit profession, reach out to me. I can give you his details for more guidance. He, I don't have a father, so having someone look, those uncles that tell you when you graduate, send me your CV and then I'll get you a job. He did that, but he was truthful. He just met us one day and were like, you never asked me to get you jobs. He was telling us like that in church. And then he's like, but unfortunately, I can only get people in the business field because I'm in the credit professional. I think he had said that before. Uh, and my sister and I, we were living actually together. My sister did CPA. She actually finished her CPA-K. I did my CCP. Unfortunately, I've never gotten to K. And this deacon, or rather the person who got me the job or the internship, keep telling me every time we meet at church, she'll be like, "When are you going back to school?" Because of course I just did Kidogo. I didn't get to K. I did part one and part of part two, and stopped. That is section 1, section 2. I'm done. I'm in section 3. Thereabout. My sister and I decided to go and do our courses. So when my sister did CPA, I did CCP. I think I'm always following her footsteps. She's the same sister who's an accountant and whose handwriting I copied. When I was young, I would look at her book and write the same way she's writing. So those who know my sisters, I'm talking about Doreen, by the way. I have so many sisters. So when we were having a conversation with this man at church, he said, but unfortunately none of you has done what I've done, and he's in the credit field. I was like, me here. And I was like, bring me your CV. I was trying to bring a hard copy because I thought he's in the other generation. And he was like, no, send me an email. I sent him an email and he got me an internship. I was being called. I was like, I almost said, no, I didn't look for the job. They were like, you applied for this and this and this. I was like, okay, I didn't apply, but the good thing is he has rapport with, because people trust him because he trained people in the field. So he has really good rapport with some of these outlets, and he's the one who bring them in turns, speak to them. Normally he will find out how you're doing, if you're having pressure, you meeting targets and all that. Yeah, and I really want to take this opportunity to appreciate him. Every time I speak about him, I say he is a good person. I remember that morning when I was going for the internship, I called him and told him, so I'm going for the internship today. Do you know he prayed for me? He prayed for me, like he was like, can I pray for you? He was praying for me on phone. I still believe that there are kind people out there. Even when I left, I told him and I thought he'll be disappointed. Um, but he was like, yeah, it's okay. All the best. I wish you all the best. Go and do your best. That was so kind. Mr. Moirore, God bless you so much. Giving you flowers, I hope I get to give you. Because this time, I'm going forward, but let me just mention that because I don't think I'll get into that. This time I'd quit all my jobs. I was just not doing anything. I quit my job, then I quit what I thought I'll get into for a longer period. I quit it immediately, like after 7 months. So he asked me, where are you now? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm currently nowhere. And that time I was just navigating life. I was going through it. I'd even chosen not to be anywhere by choice. And I even told him that, let me think about it. Let me think about what I want. No, I told him I'm not anywhere, and I wasn't even asking to get me a job. And then he was like, you go think about it. If you're ready and you want a job, tell me. Because he had still looked for a job for me. So the second job I got was also in a fintech. It was still around debt collection. Actually, the job he got me was in CRP. The next job that I got was around customer service and credit management, almost the same thing, but now with a fintech, which I did for 2.5 years to almost 3 years. The previous one, I did the internship for 6 months in total. Yeah, which was interesting. I feel like I am appreciative, even if the conditions were tough. I realized that I was appreciative through and through about it. It was a boot camp for me. Camp for me. I'd never done such a thing. It was a different field because I'd volunteered with humanitarian in the humanitarian field and the development space. But now I was in a corporate space. The dressing was different. I was wearing official. The language was different. It was very. I want to now say capitalistic, but let me just say corporate language. Yeah, so that was that. So after that I quit my job, went tried something else which I will not get into for 7 months. It didn't work out. And after that is when I came to what I'm doing. I went back to now the development space, what some people would call humanitarian space, but I don't think it's humanitarian space because I mostly do advocacy. I work around advocacy and policy and all those issues, social justice and everything in between. So that is where I am at the moment. I was here, but in more of humanitarian development space, and then went to corporate, came back here. This is where I am at the moment. But where do I see myself? I think if I would have looked back, maybe at the very beginning, I would have thought I'll be here or somewhere close to here. And when I say that here, it's not in terms of position, it's not in terms of rank, because in the previous video I said this is not where I thought I'll be at this particular time, but it's in terms of field or what I do at the moment. And even remember when I was in high school and I said I wanted to help people, what I do now is what it was. But to me, I thought that's what lawyers did. I thought lawyers did pro bono all the time, like they would fight for the rights of people whose land are taken. They will fight for the rights of probably people who are accused falsely or sue governments for doing, I don't know, like I thought like lawyers fought for people's right all the time. It took me so many years to realize that that's not what they did. Maybe after campus, to be sincere. So and also maybe interacting with more lawyers. I have a couple of friends who are lawyers and those who've also practiced law. Where do I see myself? This is not interview, so I'll just be sincere. I I actually don't know, but I believe and hope that I will still be fighting for people's rights in one way or another. Someone says whoever is silent about justice is on the side of the oppressor. So I pray and hope that I will not, and I will never be silent about issues of justice. I've always been the person that is vocal about things. Because also like in high school, I remember standing up for people all the time. Like I've stood up for the class once, and if we went to school together, maybe you can say this time I stood up for people who we had boarded the same matatu. I remember there's a time I've also tried to stop conflict. So I feel like even when it comes to negotiations, conflict resolution, I'd be, in as much as I'm so scared of conflict, I think I actually stop conflict because I'm scared. So if I'm found in the middle of conflict, I'll most likely stop it. And there are moments I've been called killjoy because some people um, thrive in the presence of conflict. So some people have called me killjoy when I've tried to stop conflict. Yeah, so I'll hopefully be still speaking up and fighting for justice. And speaking about justice, one, because of my faith, I believe God is a just God. Yeah, and I think we read so much about that in the Bible. So when we are silent about injustices, I don't know whose we are, or especially if we claim that we are Christians. I believe that and you don't have, there's no one way of doing it. There's so many ways of standing against injustice. There's so many ways to do it. So you can figure out what is practically possible within your context. But let me tell you, you don't have to play safe about it always. Like unless I don't know, like unless playing safe is the wise thing to do, you don't have to play safe. Someone said being radical, there's nothing wrong about being radical. So how do I see career? I see career as a platform, not an end to itself. I feel like career in itself has no bigger picture. To me, it's not an end to itself. It's just a means to an end. The bigger picture is fulfilling God's call. The bigger picture is pursuing God's purpose. So career and jobs and everything around that, even if it's a business, it's what gives us platform to be able to fulfill God's purpose for our life. And it can give you a platform in terms of the earning you get. It can give you a platform in terms of the spaces you have. Also, it can give you a platform in terms of the influence you carry and the influence you have. So, what are some of the lessons I've learned? I've learned that everything adds up to God's purpose for our lives. For example, for me, when I did the credit course, I was doing it because I just wanted to do some maths, to be sincere, which I realized the math was math. Especially when I did part two of the course. When I took that course, it was just taking it. But when it opened a door to a job later on. So sometimes things don't make sense, but they will make sense in the inside. Everything is adding up, even the in betweens, the things that look ugly, those that were painful, the experiences that were painful. I remember when I was collecting debts, people will lie to me so much. I feel like I'm now better. I deal in a better way when it comes to my own personal debt management and the decision whether to borrow or not. I feel like I manage finances in a better way than I would. And the way also I picture debt and money is better than if wasn't in that space. So everything work out together for good. It might not look like it makes sense. Maybe at the moment you might be wiping tables, you might be a shoe shiner, and you're like, but I always thought I was supposed to be this and that. It will all make sense at the very end. And then the second one, the purpose, and that is what I wanted to begin with actually. The purpose is God's, not ours. Most of the time we're like, what is my purpose in life? God has a big purpose, and we are in that purpose. Like we just a drop. And I'm using this as someone called Johnny Gabuku. Johnny Gabuku is the one who mentioned this. And for most of the time, we are obsessed about our purpose. What is my purpose? But the thing is, we the purpose is God's. We are just part of it. We're just part of that purpose. So it's for us to know how we plug in into that bigger purpose that is God's. And we also mentioned that the purpose will outrun us, like it will go beyond our existence, that our parents already pursuing the same purpose, we are part of it, and we our children will be part of it. So the purpose is bigger than our lifetime. Yeah, that's why we're usually encouraged to leave a legacy, maybe a legacy of people who love God, who are truthful, because I mean you might be truthful in your generation, so when another generation comes, they will mess it up. And I think it's the book of Joshua. Okay, I've missed out this before. I think it's Joshua that it said that there was a generation that did not know God, did not fear God, nor know Him. They did not I think did not know him or worshiping. I'll put the verse here. And it's unfortunate because if there was a generation that knew God, how comes there came a generation that did not know God? It only means that this generation probably didn't pass whatever they knew about God to the next generation. So even as we live our timeline, we should make sure that we leave a legacy, but also really don't get so obsessed with it and want to make it your own. Actually, it should be coming from Him to you, not you to Him. And the other thing that I wanted to add, actually related to that, is that then if the purpose is His and it's big and it's involves so many people and it's beyond you, if you refuse to plug in, God will find someone else to plug in. I think Jonah was fortunate that he was swallowed by the fish and the whole drama, and eventually and he went and preached to the people. But it's not always that God anang'ang'ana na watu hivyo. Sometimes too, I mean, and we've seen that in the Bible, like there are people wenye walikuwa tu walichoose tu kukua vichwa ngumu wakaachwa tu to their ways. See Judas, like he chose to betray Jesus, and was it Matthias was chosen to replace him. We see for example the other queen that was Queen Vashti that was replaced by Esther. There are so many people who chose to disobey God and they were replaced. So we should always know that if we refuse to obey God, then God can easily use anyone. He can use literally anyone. And even if you think you have a gifting that is supernatural, He will empower the next person to do it even better than you. And lastly, by there I was reading the book of Esther, and I might rephrase on Esther over and over. So the other thing is that everything we do adds up to the bigger picture in the hindsight or in retrospect. For us, we see Esther replacing Queen Vashti, and we think it's just for the like it's for the pageantry, like it's for her to be a queen, it's for her to um to meet her self-actualization. But you see, God had a bigger picture of saving the Israelites or redeeming the Israelites. I think I talked about that earlier, that we are supposed to take advantage of the platforms that present themselves. Allow me to just read what Mordecai told Esther. Mordecai tells Esther, "For if you keep quiet at this time, help will come to the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will be destroyed. Who knows if you have not become queen for such a time as this?" Esther became a queen, but then the Jews were threatened. So would have thought at the very beginning when Queen Vashti is replaced, you just think, oh, Queen Vashti disobeyed the king. So, I mean, definitely the king would have replaced him with anyone else. And of course, the beautiful one or whoever he would have wanted. After all, he's a king. But everything makes sense in the long run. God's main purpose for this was to save the Jews. And he uses it in such, there's a whole, like Esther had to become the king's wife for her to be able to have certain powers, which meant that he would present herself to the king. Of course, it was risky, but at least the king would listen to him, as opposed to if he was just an ordinary, person. Actually, wasn't they were not even citizens. So every thing works together to add up into something. The jobs we do, the places we go, the joblessness that we have for certain time. I remember, like, when I quit that job, I stayed for could have been 9 months. Could have been 9 months without a job, and even that adds up into something, into God's purpose for our life. It is part of our calling. During that time, I did so much ministry. Like, I will just be available for everything and anything. I learned a lot. The things that I did that I didn't think I would ever do. I even learned things about myself. Everything adds up at the very end. And so we should use everywhere we find ourselves, we should ask God, how do you want to use me when I'm here? And I think for me, that is where I am, even as I wrap up this. I am at a place where I'm asking God, you've allowed me to be here, you've placed me here. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And even as I figure out what you want me to do, help me to do it as unto the Lord and not as unto man. So those are the lessons I've learned, that the purpose is God's. Everything adds up to the main thing, that if we do not do what God wants us to do at that particular time, He will use anyone else, and then that everything we do will add up in the hindsight. And I feel like that and the first one are almost the same. Yeah, but I think I want also really want us to know that there's what God is doing, apart from like it's adding up to the bigger picture. There's what God is doing. Like we are God's agent in every place we are. Like let us take or even jobs, opportunities, positions as platforms of influence. And the bigger picture, the bigger objective, the bigger goal is to please God, to honor God, to do His will at every position and every place we find ourselves. So just on the same line, this year's my word for the year is excellence, and my verse for the year is Colossians 3:23, which says, "Whatever you do it from the heart as something done for the Lord and not for people. Whatever you do it as unto the Lord and not as unto men." Whichever version you're using. And maybe I'll continue by going to 24 and 25, knowing that you will receive the reward of an inheritance from the Lord you serve, the Lord Christ. So I'm encouraging you with that verse and with the word excellency, pursue excellency. But more than that, I have a supporting verse for the year. Weird enough. It says, "Haven't I commanded you?" That is Joshua 1:9. "Haven't I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So even as you desire to do whatever you do as unto the Lord, as you take position and platform, know that the Lord is with you. Even I'm telling myself the same thing. So yeah, I think this is a lesson we can learn. We can pursue excellence. We can do things as unto the Lord. But more than anything, let's be reminded that the God who require all this of us is with us, and it said in His word that He'll never leave us nor forsake us. So can you be afraid of anything? No. So with that being said, thank you so much for staying here. Let's continue reflecting. Help me to reflect on my 20s as I navigate my 30s. Leave your comments about your career journey. I feel like I've said a lot. I don't even know how I'll edit this video. Let me see. I hope I'll be able to somehow edit it. And if you're watching this part, just know that I really tried to edit this video because I feel like it's so long. I've said a lot. But anyways, we're here to the end. See you on the next one. I don't know what I'll talk about next year. I have a couple of things I still want to talk about. But for now, enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Thank you for always watching. Jiko nini menyongwa. I've been choked so bad. And I wanted to say, if you're watching my video, make sure you subscribe, you like, you leave a comment. Let me know who are watching. Thank you so much for watching the previous one. And also, if you've not watched the previous one, please go to the previous one. It's juicy. It's about love. Go and watch, and then you can come to this one. But no pressure. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate your presence here. See you on the next one.